Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to today's event. You are at the Affiliate Network Professional Council webinar series, which is part of our year-round events. And today's presentation is being presented by our European affiliates. And the title is Beyond Teaching, Tips on Publishing, Crowd Sharing, Creating Web Tools, and Monetizing Your Resources. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about our Affiliate Network Professional Council. We support TESOL International, and our goal is to help ensure a strong and robust affiliate network. And we have a number of events throughout the year. We have webinars almost monthly. We contribute to the annual conference. We have a newsletter, which I will tell you about later. And we have a number of other resources we share with our affiliates. My name is Bessie Karis Lazarus, and I am the chair of the ANPC. My affiliate is TESOL, and my co-host today is Hannah Camus, who is part of our ANPC board, and she's from Nile TESOL. And I'm very happy to present our speakers, and they're very interesting topics that they're going to talk about today. Our first speaker is Heike Philp. She's representing Germany and Belgium, TESOL and IATEFL. Nik Peachey, representing UK TESOL and IATEFL. Theodore Lalos, who's representing TESOL Greece, and Rob Howard, representing the US and Poland, TESOL and IATEFL. So Hannah will do the introduction of our first speaker.
Thank you, Bessie. This is Hannah Camus, by the way. It's a real pleasure and honor to be co-hosting this marvelous event with a lineup of speakers, esteemed guest speakers. Our first guest speaker today is my mentor and esteemed scholar, Heike Philp from Germany, Belgium. She's going now to tell us.
Hannah, can I object?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I have to go somewhere where I have better internet. Is it okay to go a little bit later on?
Fine. Okay. So I'm not going to present, okay, or introduce Heike. Heike's experience.
If that's okay, I'm so sorry.
Never mind. Never mind. We're going to get back to Heike.
I'm glad to be here.
So shall we move on and come back to you later, Heike?
Yes, Heike's having some technical difficulties right now, but hopefully she'll be able to take care of it. We're going to go on to the next slide. And Hannah?
Yes, so if you can just go to the next slide because you're the one sharing. So from your end. Next slide, please. Our next guest speaker, our esteemed publisher, Nik Peachey. Nik has got a long list of publications and experience in materials writing and technology. And today he's going to tell us about his journey from crowdfunding to independent publishing. He's taught and trained teachers all over the world ever since 1992. 2014, he's actually resorted to that crowdsourcing concept that we'd like to hear more about today, to self-publish, and that's going to help us here think about that in our concept of creating resources and helping associates or affiliates to create similar or adopt similar notions. So I believe now I can hand the floor to Nik Peachey. Please take it away, Nik.
Great, thank you very much. I'm just going to see if I can get my presentation to screen share. Okay, share. That is not the right one, but I'll just click to the right one. You should be seeing that now. Okay. Oh, let's go back to the beginning. Are you able to see the screen okay?
Yes, we are.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I just want to find the chat so that I can see what's going on. Okay, that's great as well. Good. Okay. Okay, so I'll try and keep to my 10 minutes and not go over time for this. Yeah, this talk is about crowdfunding and independent publishing. If you want to follow the presentation on your own, on your mobile phone or independent. Sorry, somebody muted me. Okay, I'll try again. Hopefully you can hear me this time. Okay, if you want to follow the presentation, you can follow it on your phone by scanning the QR code there, and there are a few interactive buttons on there if you want to follow along. Just a bit about myself. My name's Nik Peachey of Peachey Publications. I started my own publishing company after writing my first book. I've moved from publishing books for the iPad to publishing more widely available materials through HTML5 and also through developing apps. And if you want to check out some of the things that I do, you can sort of check out my social media presence here as well. This is kind of my timeline, I guess. These are sort of some key moments in my timeline. Back in 2014, I decided that I wanted to write a book about technology. I had this great idea that it would be a digital book with videos embedded into the book and audio and lots of video tutorials. And but I knew that it would take me a long time to write and it would be a big project. I wanted to publish it through Apple's iBooks platform, which was quite technical, and I didn't know very much about it. So I decided to try and raise money to have some time off to do it, because I've been trying to, probably like most of you, I've been trying to write this book for years, and I never had time. I'd get started and stop again, get started and stop again. So it was the problem was sort of finding time, you know, trying to get time off. So I thought I'd raise money, have some time off, write the book. I did write the book, and it published it in 2015. And in 2016, it won the British Council's Innovations Awards, which was fantastic for me. I thought I was going to be rich because, you know, I'd suddenly had this book that had won this award. And the week after it won the award, it actually sold 10 copies, which was a bit of a surprise. But it sort of made me think that, you know, actually I'm going to have to write a few more books if I ever want to get to be rich. Yeah, so after writing that one, and it had taken me nearly a year to write it in the end, you know, I decided that there were some problems with my writing method, which I'll come back to. But I did eventually solve those problems, and by 2020, I had about 100 different published articles, materials. I started a subscription service, which I now have, and started developing apps as well. So I have subscription apps as well as the original books, and now I have something like 182 different products, which I sort of sell all over the world. So from that sort of one book that took me a year to write back in 2015, 2016, I now have a method to write much more quickly. I'll fill you in on that kind of process in case you're interested, and I hope you are interested. Basically, I started when I decided that I needed to get some time to write the book. I started a process called crowdfunding. I used a site called Indiegogo, and the aim of it was to raise money so that I could raise enough money to have some time off, which I successfully did actually. And I used the site Indiegogo, and what I did was I created a video telling people about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve, and I wrote up this kind of project plan for what I was going to do, and published it on the site. And what you do when you crowdfund it is you lay out your idea to people, and then you offer them rewards in exchange for giving you money to sort of fund the book. So if you might be able to see on my right-hand side of the screen, these are the different rewards, and you scale the rewards depending on how much people want to give you and what you're offering. So I had my kind of minimum reward, which if somebody gave me £2, they would have my eternal gratitude. And believe me, they still do, honestly. And for £5, they could have my eternal gratitude and a copy of the book. And, you know, for £15, they could have a personal mention in the book, or they could have a link to their blog site. I set up all these small scale benefits, thinking that these were the ones that were going to generate the money. You know, I thought people would give me a little bit of money, they'd buy an advanced copy of the book, or they'd just sort of make a donation. But what I found was that those weren't the things that were popular. The things that were really popular in the end, and the ones that were sold out, was that people wanted to become part of the process and part of this. So it moved from being just a crowdfunding project to being a sort of crowdsourcing project, in that people wanted to contribute materials, or they wanted to review different parts of the book and were willing to give me feedback. You know, people were willing to sponsor the book and things like that. And that came as quite a surprise to me. And I eventually, as it shows at the top, I eventually raised something just over £5,000 sterling, and managed to have 3 months to write the book without having to do any work. As it turned out, although that sounds like a wonderful story, as it turned out, 3 months wasn't enough, and the money ran out, and I was still writing the book. And this sort of this takes me to the next stage, which is, you know, this is the book that I eventually wrote, Digital Video, a manual for language teachers, and it turned into a 420-page book with nearly 30 video tutorials. And you know, what I found was that I'd just bitten off too much. You know, the scope of the book got bigger and bigger, you know, and after I was supposed to publish it within 3 months, and, you know, it eventually took me a year to finish it because I'd let the scope get too big. After reading a book by Eric Weiss called The Lean Startup, I started to adopt a different approach, because I knew that if I wanted to write more books, to get 10 books was going to take me 10 years. And, you know, I didn't have that kind of time to sort of build. So I took something from the Lean Startup called Iterative Design. And this is how iterative design works. You bite off a little chunk, you build what's called a minimally viable product, you launch it, test it, and you iterate and build on what you learn. So what I started off with was just one lesson plan, which I published immediately, got some feedback, redesigned it, and then built a second one based on that. And eventually I sort of built out 10 lesson plans over the phase of 10 weeks. And when I got to the end of having those 10 lesson plans, I combined them into a book. So by now I had these, instead of, you know, spending, you know, 3 months writing one book, I'd actually written it in parts and built it in parts. So I had 11 products, which then I could launch and sell, and which were generating me income and getting me feedback. So I was able to learn from those and build more products. I then added another book. The first book was based around infographics, so I added a kind of how-to book. So then I had 2 additional books, and then I rolled all of that together into another book, which was thinking critically through digital media. So this final book contained those 10 lesson plans, you know, the combined book and the other books, a couple of other chapters that I'd written as blog posts and got feedback from. And so I combined those all together into a book. And so, you know, in doing that, I then had sort of 14 products which I could launch, learn from, generate income from, and also build a following from, because, you know, people buy the first lesson plan, they like it, then they'll buy the second one, and then they'll buy the third one, and so on. So as you're building your products, you're also building the audience and the market for your products as well. Iterative design is something that I continued with building apps. These are some of the apps that I've built. And again, I built them using a very easy platform. It sounds like a difficult thing to do, to build an app for a mobile phone, but it's actually quite easy nowadays using something called a no-code platform. And so, you know, it's actually based on putting all the content into a spreadsheet and then building an interface on it. And that's what I've done to build these apps. And iterative design, I'll pass you a link to the platform that I use because it's free to use as well. I'll just put that into the chat. Iterative design works really very well for building apps because you can actually change things from inside the app structure and without the person having to go and download the app again. So you can keep building and improving as you learn and get feedback from your customers. You can even make them open so that your customers can contribute and add different things to them. If you want to sort of read a bit more about my story or find out a bit more, I've actually written a very short book called Becoming an E-Publisher. If you scan the QR code, you can get that. And if you use this coupon code, IATEFL, just click on the, actually, I'll pass you a link to that very quickly. Copy. It says that you should buy it, but if you click on buy now, and where it says coupon code here, add coupon code, if you type in IATEFL, you can actually get it for nothing. It will reduce the price to nothing. So if you want a free copy of that book, click on the link, add your email details, add the coupon code, and you can download it for nothing. And that gives you 4 chapters of which lay out the story of how I built it, how I raised the money for that first book, and sort of some tips on how to market your products once you've developed them and built them. Okay, so that's a kind of very quick introduction to the kind of iterative design and crowdfunding, crowdsourcing work that I've done. And if you want a copy of the presentation with all the links in, I'll also put that in there. Okay, so there's a link to the presentation if you want to go back through that again. So for me, the key things are, get people involved. They want to be involved in the process, get feedback from them, iterate, and build better all the time. Constantly try and improve what you do. Okay, thank you very much. I'll see if I can stop screen sharing.
Thank you. That was really inspiring, Nik, as usual. Thank you for all the information and the sharing. Now, we're going to have questions and comments, so please save that for Nik when we get to the questions and comments right after the presentations. I believe we can go back to the previous slide, Bessie. Heike is back.
Okay. All right, we're going to have the Q&A at the end of all of the presentations, so save your questions. But thank you, Nik. That was very inspiring, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to reading your book and finding out how you accomplished all that you did. So we're going back to Heike's intro. Okay, Hannah.
So just checking, Heike, you're back, right? So can
Yes, I am. I hope you see me. Hope you.
All right. I'm glad that you made it under such challenging circumstances with all that's going on, power cut and internet issues. Thank you for joining us. Heike is going to share her experience with Edtech tools. These are brought to us by teachers who use them in class. Now, a bit about Heike. She's the CEO of Let's Talk Online. She's an immersive education specialist, and she's so many other things. Look at the different projects, Lancelot, Camelot, and virtual roundtable web conference. I had the pleasure to join several times. She's done so many things that inspire us all. In her presentation, she'll address questions that arise when teachers are trying to choose and master educational tools. In Search for Answers, she's going to discuss how she embarked on a new mission to help teachers master the flood of Edtech tools. So with that, I give the floor to Heike to tell us about her experience with what we call skill sharing. Heike, take it away.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your understanding. I'm happy to present to you a very, very exciting new project. The presentation which I planned for today, unfortunately, has gone down the power cut problem, but I've sussed up an old one and a previous one, sorry. Sorry, that must have been, sorry. Yeah, here we go. I'm very, very excited to be here at the Affiliate Network Professional Council, one of the many councils that TESOL has. And I'm delighted that Betsy is here as chair of this council. It only holds 10 members, and Hannah is one of them, and Betsy is one of them, and Lynn is here. Thank you very much for your hard work. You do voluntary work for TESOL to strengthen the affiliate network. Now, what a task, what an undertaking. And I'm delighted because in the last couple of years, I've seen really, really strong women emerge out of the pandemic, really. The pandemic also was the origin for me to embark on this new venture. I mean, people would think I've done enough, you know, 5 million euro, 2 million euro from the EU, 5 projects, huge undertakings. But the remote emergency teaching during COVID taught me a couple of more lessons, one of which humbly I sort of acknowledge that, for one thing, we understood that we were technically underskilled, and this has completely changed. So I'm absolutely thrilled to see that the tech skills of teachers have greatly improved. What has also emerged out of this crisis with COVID is that security of employment is really not what we thought it is. There were so many secure jobs lost, especially in our trade, the teacher trade. We teach English, and normally English teaching is kind of secure the world over, but no, COVID changed all of this. Another thing that touched my heart and pained me in many respects is the fact that teachers earn active money, and when the jobs are lost, that's when they lose income. The possibility to earn passive income has greatly reduced. I mean, one of the reasons why Nik is a publisher is because publishers these days do no longer pay royalties, or they pay very little money or very low royalties. And so Dorothy Semak put this on a keynote at IATEFL at one time, how poor this trade actually has become. So this is why a lot of teachers are looking for possibilities to make more money. Allow me to introduce my new venture. I'm so excited about it, and you're the very first ones to hear about it, to be honest. We've been developing for about 2 years. I'll introduce the team at a later stage. And this is the result. I could also show you the website live. What I'm trying to do here is actually copy a very successful business model, which is Udemy. So I've decided to do something. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time, but I'd like to focus on educational tools with the videos and the video courses on this side. And at the moment we have approximately 20 of them. Hannah's is one of them, has basically emerged out of the virtual roundtable recordings initially. So here's the idea with the business model. The video courses are 1 hour in length. That's what I'm insisting upon. with approximately 30 minutes video content and some interactive tasks, etc. So they're real video courses. They're done on Canvas, and the idea is skill sharing. And with skill sharing, I mean that those invited to present educational tools are not tool gurus. They should be English teachers or math teachers or science teachers, but not the tool gurus, not even the professors of a university, but it should be sort of every one of us. Yeah. And out of the, sorry, this is the, as I said, the wrong presentation. Out of the money that we decided to make, let me show you this video course. I'm not sure whether I'm actually sharing this one. Sharing the whole screen now again. This is the business model. So out of the courses that are here, say for example, let's take MS Teams. They've been sold for €8.99. Yeah. And out of this money, 80% of the money go to the teacher. So Edtech tools, or the Udemy kind for teachers, is only a platform and takes very little share for posting these videos, for hosting these videos. And if they've been sold on the internet, that's about 80% of the money goes to the teacher, which might not be a lot in Europe, but it could be quite a bit of money abroad as well. We're using everything to host it on Canvas. And allow me the last to introduce the team, and then I'm already at the end of the time. So this myself, obviously, and here's Helena Galani in Greece, who's joined me as Director of Studies. And we have an absolute genius as a CTO, Martin, who's a linguist also by trade, but also a webmaster and a technical genius. He's been able to help us to set up Canvas. So I'm hoping that you join us, every one of you. First of all, what we do need at the moment is test users. So I invite you to become test user on this site. The site is called edtechtools.com. And if you put your name down here, which tool would you like to test, and choose out of the 20 courses at the moment that we have, which one you would like to test, and give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you're like Hannah, courageous enough to present tools on how to spot lies, then please share your skills and create a video course. So which video course would you like to create? Which tool would you like to share? We would be delighted to work with you. And it's not so rocket science. It's we meet you in Zoom, we record your screen share, we help you edit it, we give you a bit of a template in Canvas. And so it's not so difficult. Whether we're really good at creating video courses remains up to you. So we hope to get your feedback. And with that, I'm concluding. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Heike. Another intriguing ideas. So we have skill sharing and crowd sharing. Let's hear some more from our guest speakers. Again, please save us the questions till the Q&A. So over to you, Bessie, to introduce our next guest speaker.
Okay, and thank you, Heike. Thank you for that. Again, you're giving us great ideas, giving everybody great ideas, and I hope some of people join you to test your products or even make videos for your organization. So next, I am going to go over to our next speaker, who is Theodore Lalos, and his topic is entitled, I wonder, what shall I? And Theodore, as you can see, has a number of different credentials, a TKT, CELTA, Diploma in Teacher Training, Diploma in TESOL. He's an oral examiner, conference presenter, person-centered counselor, and he has been shortlisted for an award with regards to his teaching approach entitled the Luminescent Approach, which we would like to hear more about. And he is a past TESOL Greece board member and a journal editor. And according to TESOL Greece, when it comes to educational tools, he's in a league of his own. Theodore, he's going to be talking about a newly launched web tool that allows learners to join online and practice their oral skills. And it's an all-in-one application, self-initiated learning, communication, peer collaboration, decision-making, and immersive engagement. So, Theodore?
I presume the stage is mine.
Yes.
So no pressure on that, you know that I'm on my league. So allow me to show my presentation. Okay, so indeed, I'm on behalf of TESOL Greece, I don't know what's going on. Okay. There you go. Yes, indeed. On behalf of TESOL Greece, I'm really elated to be here and surrounded by all these colleagues that have had some amazing ideas to share with us. So by definition, the word wonder means to ask questions or to have a strong desire to seek answers to these questions. So Wonder is a newly launched web tool, which is available to all of us, and we can actually work some wonders with it. And before we move on, I think that there are three rudimentary things that we need to do. We need to answer three questions: what to do with wonder, what to use wonder for, and what to talk about with wonder. So really, really quickly, the first question is what to do with wonder, and the questions, the answers to them, they are really easy. Connect. Whether you're having hybrid lessons right now, or whether you're teaching face-to-face lessons or virtual classroom lessons, then you're able to connect your learners from wherever they are. And this has had a great impact on me, because when I was teaching only face-to-face, I couldn't have the chance to get my learners together. And that was another thing that, you know, just stricken me when I was trying to find a way to get them all together. So Wonder allows me to do that these days. And it also enables me to set a very strong context about the area that I want to teach about. And I will demonstrate exactly how I'm going to do that with some tips by sharing my screen on Wonder immediately. Now, I just wanted to emphasize that by setting a strong context, you immediately engage your learners and you allow them to communicate authentically and express themselves in a very nice way. Now, what to use Wonder for? Now, that depends entirely up to the teacher, and it can be up to A2 to C2 level communication. You can practice what you preach, like you said, people are in pairs or in groups, and then you can even talk about inquiry-based learning, because this is exactly the major point of Wonder. We ask questions, and this is what we want to prompt our learners to do these days. Ask questions, seek answers to these questions, communicate with each other, collaborate, and be able to combine all these things and produce something new and present it to us, right? So the last question is what to talk about on Wonder. So as you can see, I'm making it very quick and dirty right now. So the last thing is that they can talk about A2 or C2 topics, and even about fiction, which means fairy tales, in other words. So without any further ado, I'm going to present you to Wonder, because this is what I do, what I usually do. So I have to stop sharing my screen and I have to show you around Wonder. So as you can see, I'm going to copy the link and send it to the chat. It's wonder.me, and this is a platform that you can use to have interactive workspaces. And I'm going to show you a few ideas that I came up really, really promptly when I was asked to present on behalf of TESOL Greece. So what you have to do is actually you have to give them a strong context. So what I did, I searched Google and I found a floor plan of a supermarket. So once I had this idea and I have this strong visual aid, I designated some different areas which you can do by going over there on the bars, the 3 bars, and you can go to space settings. You can have background image, you upload your background image, the floor plan, let's say, and that's it, quite easy. And after that, you go to area settings and you click edit areas and you start using this kind of rectangles. Now, make sure that the rectangles do not overlap because the areas will not be activated. But the thing is this, that for A2 level, you can have a conversation. You can get your exam materials and check what do they have to perform. They have to have a dialogue between going to the supermarket and they have to decide about their grocery list. So that's quite easy. We've got the different aisles, as you can see, and we've got the cashiers and the info desk. So we can have the beginning, so they have to come up with a grocery list perhaps. So what they need to do is they go over here, which says create sticky note. They can write their name, Theodore, and then their grocery list. So for example, we need some grapes, we need some walnuts, we need some wine, definitely to get us through, and so on and so forth. So number 1, you can assign a different color. So you know that your learner who has written what, but that's the reason why I asked you to write their name at the beginning, so as to check their spelling at the same time and check their ideas. So they just click create and the post-it is over here. So then they have to go around the different aisles. Now, I don't know, I can't see because I've got all of the, now, as you can see, this is my avatar and I can move around. And once I move around and go to the designated space, it allows me actually to turn on my camera and my microphone. And over here, all the students can go to this place or to the other place, to the other workspace, and they can talk together. The only thing that you need to do is to just provide them with a link, which is over here, with just invite team members. Copy the link, you send the link over there to the chat, and they just have to type their name, take a picture of themselves, and then just join the session, and that's it. And they can even share their screen, as you can see. Now, for A2 level, talking about what you want to buy, negotiating with the cashier because perhaps you don't have enough money and you have to take out some certain, let's say, products away so as to be able to buy the ones that you have available. Or you can just wander around the supermarket and have discussion about whether you're going to buy those walnuts or honey or grapes and stuff. Now, another idea that you can have for upper level students is to run an event, like organizing a wedding anniversary or even a wedding. So you can have people working in groups or pairs and they have to decide about the music list. So 2 or 3 students are assigned this one. As you can see, it doesn't allow me to show my camera because I'm using it right now on Zoom. But what you can do is actually you can have people working on the playlist and they can write comments, unlike rock music, for example. Again, you can check their spelling and they can add some, so you can check their comments and then they can have a checklist, a sticky note. So let's def leverage. I don't know if I'm spelling it correctly now. I don't remember or I'm going to go for Adele, which is my favorite singer, or Sia, or Emily Sandé. So this is what I would like to listen on my wedding day. Poor people, they would get frustrated by listening to all these sad songs. Now, if I go to the other side of the designated area, it's the bride and groom's table. So they can decide about where each person is going to sit on the table, perhaps, or the guest that they're going to actually invite over and where they're going to sit and the reasons why they have to sit on those designated areas, and some of them they may be working on the catering services. So what kind of food people may be able to have access to while they attend the event. So as you can see, this is running a project, and you can get your learners into groups and pairs and practice what you preach. Another one, which I think will be the one that will resonate to most of you, especially the ones that prepare exam preparation classes, is the one that they have to talk about the local council and present their opinion or their arguments to the local council. So what I did, again, I'm going to show you really quickly that you go to space settings, you go to background image, you upload a city map or a local map of your town, and you designate the areas, and you do that by going again space settings, area settings, edit areas, and you can add a new one over here. It says add new area. So as you can see, when they overlap, it doesn't allow you to use them, but if you go over there, you can go to the temple of the Olympian Zeus. So let's say how to promote this tourist attraction. I don't have enough. So promote tourist attraction. I could just write, because we got the word limit, promote this tourist attraction. Yeah, still I can't make it. Promote tourist attraction. So I can apply this one. So now I have a new designated area. So people can go from one place to the other, and they can have a conversation about it, and they can jot down their ideas, and they can use the sticky notes. Again, remember that you can separate your learners. You can assign a specific color to a specific learner, so as to be able to monitor who has done what. And afterwards, you can give them, you know, they can go to the parliament or to the local council to present. So you can be there as part of the local council and listen to them presenting their ideas. You can even assign another workspace where over there it says recommendations for a night out around Athens. So you get the writing prompt, which usually is quite mundane for learners, and you turn it into drive to pursue something better, to engage your learners, to motivate them, and to make this one like a real life situation. And finally, because I promised that we're going to talk about fiction as well, this depends entirely on your skills of researching the appropriate picture. Once you find the proper visual aid, then you just go to space settings, you go to background image, you upload the background image that you want. That will stir up different emotions and different ideas and thoughts and feelings. So as you can see, I have designated again some different areas like Red Riding Hood's home. What I would be really interested, to be honest, is the wolf's den. So I would really like to listen to a monologue by learners talking about what the poor wolf is talking to himself all alone, how hungry he is, and all this kind of stuff. And we can have another thing which I came up yesterday while I was rehearsing, is that we can have different comments all around this one. As you can see, we can have the thoughts of Little Red Riding Hood while she's on her path to finding her granny's house. So we can have different comments about, well, what a nice flower. Oh, this is such a nice smell. The fragrance of it is wonderful. So you can have this kind of activity, for example, or you can have the conversation between, and you can record it as sticky notes using the sticky notes between the wolf and Little Red Riding Hood. You can even have the Woodman's Lodge over there and what he's doing, and more ideas. I don't know how much time I have available, so I don't want to take any more of your time, but I think that you got the cracks of the whole situation. So you can use this web tool actually to engage your learners by setting strong context and designated different areas where they can work either in pairs or in groups, and having a conversation and monitor their spelling and their ideas every step of the way. So allow me to share back. No, I don't want to share from this. I want to share from this one. Okay, so I would like to thank you all for being here and attending this webinar, and thank everybody that is involved in this event, and for allowing me the opportunity to represent TESOL Greece. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Bessie? Can you unmute, Bessie?
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Theodore. That was a fascinating presentation. I'm sure everybody would agree that you gave a lot of ideas on how to use your application, and you showed us that it was easy to do. So I'm sure we'll have more questions at the end. But thank you so much for coming and representing TESOL Greece and showing us this great tool. So
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now I would like to present our next speaker, who is Rob Howard. And his presentation is entitled The Good, the Bad, and the Erroneous Vetting Shared Materials. And I'll tell you a little bit about Bob. He is the Online Language Center and Business Language Training Institute owner. He's the founder of EFL Talks, teacher trainer, writer on business English, teacher development, entrepreneurship, and teaching online. And he is the IATEFL BSIG Joint Coordinator, Gallery Teachers Masterclass Presenter, ITDI TOEFL Trainer, and co-founder of Independent Authors and Publishers. And basically, he's going to be talking about how to make sure that the materials that you want to use are actually accurate and quality materials. So he's going to discuss the need for vetting the materials to ensure that they're trustworthy and appropriate. And he is going to tell you how to avoid choosing the wrong materials, and he's going to go through the entire vetting process to ensure accuracy. So, Rob,
Great.
share your screen.
Thank you. Yep. Okay. Very good. Well, thanks so much for having me here. And thank you to the three speakers before me who all happen to be EFL talkers. Thank you. Really what I wanted to talk about today is I do a lot of things over the years. If you're familiar with EFL Talks, for years we've been collecting material from teachers and from professionals out there making videos on things that they recommend. And when I started EFL Talks, Dudley Reynolds, who was at the time president of TESOL, said something interesting to me, which has stuck with me, and which is what I'm really going to talk about today, is that at some point you're going to have to sit down and start vetting what's good and what's bad. And this is something that with COVID, and Heike talked about it, everybody was scrambling, looking for digital material out there that was quality material. And quite frankly, there was a lot of garbage, and there still is. If you look at what's happening now with social media, you look at people who are, quote, teachers on Facebook and Instagram. Even if you do any searches out there for materials on specific subjects, which I constantly do, I'm always looking for new good material. You're going to find that a high percentage of it is not quality, and in fact, in many ways, erroneous. And first thing that I recommend you do is you've got to find out who are the people out there who are producing good material. And Nick always has material. I'm giving you a plug, Nick. I want 10%. Give me that Elton back. And Nick, for instance, is great. It's somebody that you can count on. And it's a name that you know that any material that you use of his, you don't have to worry. But when you start doing things like what I do, I'm dealing in business English, and I deal with specific things like IT, oil and gas, law, and oftentimes I have to scour the internet to find good material. And because I'm not a lawyer or an oil and gas expert or an IT expert, how do I know if the material is good? And the problem is that if I bring this into class with my students, being a freelancer, having my own company, this really comes down to my reputation. So we need to come up with some kind of vetting process. Now, you've heard it over and over again over the past, I guess it's been almost 5 years now since good old Donald Trump came along, fake news. And fake news became huge. And something that we still haven't learned to do is how to discern fake news. As a society, we don't look at multiple sources and check our sources. We tend to just listen to what's put in front of us. And this is where social media is dangerous. But the exact same thing happens with materials. Now, you can take materials that could be suspect. For example, I'm putting together a course right now on emotional intelligence, and there's some great material, and there's some material that is terrible. It looks beautiful. People have done nice jobs with it. Digitally, it's well put together. They used nice programs like Canva and everything else to make a really attractive package. And then when you read through it, you'll see bad grammar, you'll see bad spelling, and in some cases, you'll see erroneous information. So how do we do this? Good question. And if everybody has the answer, we'd be in a perfect world, but we don't. And the thing is, I found a long time ago, you have to go to multiple sources. So for instance, if it's something that I don't trust, then what I'm going to do is take that information and look for 5 or 6, sometimes even more, different sources discussing that particular piece of information and make sure that it is correct. Sometimes I even have questions with grammar. Remember, I'm American, so we didn't learn how to speak correctly, and I hope you understand me. But sometimes I even have to check and double check grammar. Sometimes, being an American, I have to reach out to my British friends and make sure that this isn't something that's correct in British English, because I don't want to say, hey, this is wrong, when maybe it's wrong in American English, but it's correct in British. So you have to find multiple trustable sources when you're getting materials. And I'm not saying don't share materials, share. Look for them, find great materials from other people. But again, find trusted sources and double check everything. That's really the biggest thing that I want to say. I found over the years, when I first started teaching in Brazil years ago, centuries ago, that I was getting a lot of the the information off of what we had an internal wiki, and everybody always went through, they did all their materials up. And what I found over the years is I spent more time correcting other people's materials than it actually took to do my own research and come up with my own. So unless you know you have a trusted source and you know that the information is going to be correct, it might be better off to just write your own. Because how else can you trust something better than if you did it yourself? Or if someone like Nik did it, or plenty of professionals out there. I'm not picking on Nik, I love his material. But this is it. Look for people like Nik. Look for names that are out there who have been there for a while and trust their materials. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for those tips. Those are very important things to take into consideration when trying to choose materials, because as you said, there's a lot out there and it looks great, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. So thank you so much. And I'm going to mention a few things, but before we go to our Q&A. So first thing I want to talk about is our upcoming presentations. As I mentioned, this webinar is part of our year-round events. And as you can see here, we've done a number of different events throughout this year. And we took a new approach this year. We decided to tour the world. And as you can see, in February, we had presenters from Asia and Oceania. In April, the Middle East and Africa. In June, TESOL International went to an advocacy and policy summit in Washington, D.C. And in July, the ANPC had their own global advocacy presentations. Today we have Europe. On October 14th, TESOL Maryland will be talking about developing an affiliate handbook for everything TESOL. And we have a plug at the end, but Lynn will also put the information in the chat. And then in November, we will be hearing from North and South America. So we hope that you come to our future presentations. And if you're interested in presenting next year, you can contact Lynn Fung. I put her email address at the bottom here. I don't know if that's the best email address for you, Lynn. If you would like them to contact you elsewhere, you can add that. And I'm going to move forward so that we can get to the Q&A. Now, we would like your feedback. Hannah, you want to explain this a little bit?
Sure. Okay. Now it's as simple as that. You can scan the QR code or go to that link, as you can see, tinyurl.com/Europe-affiliates-2022. I'm going to paste that in the chat box just for you to give us your feedback on how you have found our webinar today. We're going to actually receive your questions and comments in a few. So please, if you wish, put down those, okay, in the chat box, or Bessie?
Yes. So before you leave, please give us your feedback, but we have more. We have Q&A and we have a couple of other things we want to tell you. The next thing I wanted to mention is that as I said earlier, the ANPC's purpose is to help connect our affiliates. And one way that we do that is with our newsletter that comes out twice a year. And we have an upcoming newsletter in the fall. And if you'd like to contribute, you can send your submissions to Jermaine McDonald. We have here a list of the various topics that are usually covered. And if you would like to take a look at newsletters from the past to get an idea of what your other affiliates are writing, Here's the link. We will put that in the chat so that you will be able to see that, but that is a really good way to learn about the affiliates and stay connected with us. So with that, we're going to proceed with our Q&A. So if you have any questions you would like to ask, raise your hand or write your questions in the chat. So we will begin with the Q&A. Any questions from anybody for our speakers?
I have a question there. It's a little bit long, but I'm just wondering whether you can put this trend into context for us in the sense of how popular is it? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What are some of the challenges or what problems is this solving for teachers and students and the status of language, English language education?
Maybe you can simplify the question. We're just talking about linking all the presentations together, coming up with a concept, that concept. Okay, sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry if I confuse you with a long question, but basically I would just like you to comment on this trend in terms of self-publication, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding. What are the challenges? What solution or what problems is this solving for us?
So is this directed to any of
To all of you? Any of you can answer.
Okay.
Maybe they can take turn answering that. We have crowdsourcing and sharing, Nik talked about. We have skill sharing, Heike talked about. And of course, Rob, I wanted your take on things like teachers pay teachers. You did not throw this in. If you wish to include, that would be great because it's relevant. Okay, let's take turns. Who'd like to start?
Then Theodore, of course, with his application, he can explain to us how that
Definitely
answers the question. Okay, so Nik, you want to begin?
Hi. Yeah, I think to answer the question briefly, it is increasing and lots more teachers are publishing their own materials. I think this is a very good thing because it's a very developmental process. And, you know, it's one thing putting your materials in front of your own students, but once you start publishing them and making them available to other people, especially for money, you start thinking about those things that Rob was mentioning a lot more carefully. You know, if somebody's buying your worksheet and it has grammar mistakes in or you know, factual errors in or something like that, you need to start taking those things seriously, and that's good. I think in terms of solving a problem, I think it does solve a problem for teachers in that, you know, it makes a lot more materials available that are kind of small scale and low cost. You know, if you want to buy a course book, I don't know how much a course book is now. It's maybe $25 or $30 for a course book. You buy a teacher's book, you have to buy audio. Oh, maybe my stuff is too cheap. I don't know, but it gets really, it's really expensive, you know. And to do that as an independent teacher is very difficult, especially if you want to, you know, to work online, and then you've got to hold your book up and things like that. You know, the publishers have really failed to deliver on making digital materials available for teachers who want to teach in this kind of environment. And I think that's where, you know, things like places like Teachers Pay Teachers, my own publications, and other people that are doing this, that's where that fills that gap. It, you know, enables teachers to get a wide variety of low-cost materials that are in a digital format. And I think that's a good thing for our profession, and a great thing for the teachers who are publishing them.
Thank you for that, Nik. That's a great answer. And I think, yeah, especially for independent teachers, as you're saying, it could be any teacher, really. It could be very valuable. Heike, would you like to add to that?
I'd love to, and thank you so much for this opportunity to present this. My whole motivation for doing this, and it's been quite a bit of hard work, and I believe I'm going to spend a few more years on this platform, maybe a bit longer than I ever anticipated to be in my working life. But my whole big heart goes out to the many teachers out there who work hard and they have very little at the end of the day, very little to show off for their hard work. And I'm talking about simply financial compensation. And I would like to create a platform where teachers can earn additional money and with creating video courses, sharing their screen, presenting a tool, perhaps then even using this kind of skill to, perhaps we can create other platforms, I don't know. And it's hard for me to say this at this stage because we're just about starting with this platform. This is a launch. Today is the very launch of this platform. So I'm not sure whether it will make money. But I'm looking at Udemy, and Udemy is giving the course creators a lot in return. So I'm hoping that this will be also a venue for many teachers out there to earn money.
Okay, thank you. I hope so. It sounds fascinating. And Theodore, you want to add to that about your app and maybe other things that you have worked on, and to answer that question?
Could you please clarify the question one more time so as to be on topic?
Yeah, just a comment on this trend regarding teachers creating materials, publishing materials, selling materials. Is it on the rise? Is it a good thing?
Yes, it is on the rise, and it's definitely a great thing to see because, you know, we're just transcending from the standard era of using coursebook materials to actually moving on to the era where the teacher is actually the source of creating materials and actually incorporating all the new information that we're being bombarded in our daily life. And I think that this is the most important thing because coursebook materials, they focus on specific topics, but this is not how life works. Life is surrounded by many different events, and the students are not exposed to these events. And the most important thing that we need to do is to expose our learners to real life problems. This is how we're going to learn from now on. It's not through coursebook materials that they have, you know, this kind of grammar instruction or grammar task that you need to fill in, or the different kind of vocabulary exercises. I believe in incidental learning rather than just highlighting or prompting learners to just notice the language that has been covered in a specific unit. So this is how things work. I believe yes, the essence of my approach, because you actually asked what the Luminescent Approach is all about, is about recuperative learning. We transcend from actual coursebooks to real life materials, and we need to check the veracity of the information. So we need to cross-check all the materials that we're using and enable our learners to think creatively and use their critical thinking skills in order to analyze whether the information that they get is accurate or not, and they have to search the web, to search multiple resources and check that the information that they have acquired is the proper one. So this is a pursuit on becoming better and becoming well informed. This is what I believe that the new era is all about. Being able to be independent, autonomous, and be able to differentiate between what is correct and what's not correct.
Thank you, Theodore. I agree with you completely that what you're saying is very true, and that is, you know, what the future holds for us, and probably the past too. It's just we relied on, you know, textbooks much more at that point. But thank you for that answer. Rob, would you like to add to that?
You're muted.
Because you're on mute.
Hannah wants me to start a fight, right? What do you want me to talk about?
No.
No, it's one thing. I'm all for teachers coming up with their own material, and this is important. As Theodore was just saying, you know, we're into such little specializations now for everything, because most of us are teaching freelance these days, or some are still in university and need to teach freelance to make enough money to live. So with this, you're going to come across many different subjects that you need to find material for. Now, with this, do we start something where we share all the materials? I don't know if that's necessarily the best way. I think we should, which is why I started EFL Talks, and you know, this was for teacher training. I think the teacher training aspect of it is great, and do this freely. I also started the Independent Authors and Publishers, and this is for people like Nik, like myself, like anybody writing any kind of material, to be able to get there and get in front of people so other teachers know that these are available. To come up with one clearinghouse where everybody puts their material, it's starting to sound like too much business again. And this is where we get bogged down with the publishers and the companies who are now basically trying to put us out of business because they're coming up with their own courses. I think if we remain independent, but do exactly like Nik's a hero. He's kept the price extremely reasonable that teachers all over the world can afford things. For example, Bessie, you're in California still, I assume?
Yes.
Yep. Well, I'm originally from Boston, but now I live in Poland. I used to live in Brazil. Every dollar you make is 6 times stronger than the money I make. So if we were to put together something where materials are available for money, we've got to figure out a fair way of sharing it. You know, if you're from a rich country, is it fair that you get the material? If I'm from a poor country, I can't get the material. Now we're back in the same mold that we had with publishers, but we're teachers doing it to each other. So I think we need to be very, very careful putting something like this together, or else just say everything is cheap and that's it. How is that happen?
Nice perspective.
Yeah,
By the way, we have received a question, but before that, we have in the chat box somebody asking a question. I think it's Montaser. Would you like to make a comment, Bessie and Lynn, before we get to that question?
well,
Any comments?
I just wanted to say, I mean, you've all brought up some really important points, and then Rob, you know, about the pricing, that is definitely something to consider. But all these ideas are great, and I think you know, we should explore them and pursue them further, and find out what's most beneficial to teachers themselves, because obviously, as you pointed out, Rob, you need a, you know, your teachers are teaching independently to make additional money, because, you know, it's not the highest paying job in the world. But on the other hand, you know, you have to take into consideration where you live and what's accessible and what's not accessible to the different teachers. So I think those are all good points. Should we go on with the next question? So because we've gone over here.
Could I also ask the questions to a question to the audience?
Yes, sure, Heike.
Yeah, a question to the audience would be, apart from teaching in real time, is there any way of you also creating some passive income in any form whatsoever? And if so, could you share how you earn passive income? Passive income means that you create it once and it just continues to sell, or it continues to make you money. That's passive income.
Okay,
Mm.
so passive income. But before we get to that question, Heike, because I think one of our people in the audience asked the question first. So let me address that question and then we'll get back to yours, okay, if you don't mind. So this
Yes.
was Monteser asked, my question is regarding materials. Does technology and new tools account for new teaching methodologies, such as the dogma approach or task-based learning, emphasizing less materials and more focus on emerging language? Anybody want to answer that question? Yes.
Yes.
I'll give a shot.
Okay.
I think that that's one of the great things about independent publishers is that there is much greater sphere and much greater breadth for trying out new things. You know, if I pick up a course book now and look at it, it looks pretty much the same as a course book I would have picked up 30 years ago when I first started teaching. I can predict what's in it. It's got the text, it's got the gap fill activities for the grammar, it's got a little grammar presentation. You know, course books that publishers are knocking out, I don't know why they keep getting new people to write them, because, you know, they all look just the same as they did 20, nearly 30 years ago. You know, whereas, you know, as independent publishers, we can take risks and we can do things a little bit differently. You know, I write materials, but you know, I appreciate what Scott Thornberry's done with Dogme. So, you know, I write materials that revolve around bringing a person's experience into the classroom. There aren't little grammar gap fill activities or a grammar presentation. There's a presentation of a person talking about their experience, and then, you know, students can then match that to their own experience or reflect on how that, you know, what they have in common with that person or something like that. We can start developing materials that are really personal and involve the actual person. And I think that's one of the great things about the kind of breadth of independent materials produced, is that people are doing things a little bit differently. There are still, you know, if you go to Teachers Pay Teachers, you will still find loads of stuff that's just like a course book and is, you know, you'll find 100,000, you know, gap fill activities about the present perfect, but, you know, there are people doing things differently. And I think, you know, that eventually starts to stand out, or I hope so anyway.
Okay, very good points, Nick. Thank you very much. And I think Theodore, maybe you were nodding your head. I don't know if you wanted to add.
Yeah,
to
I
that.
was nodding because I definitely agree with Mr. Peachey. Lately, there's been, you know, we've been bombarded by many publications that they just launch new books every year, but they're just the same. They don't change their topics. The topics remain the same, but this is not how life works anymore. There are so many different things that we are available. If you download the BBC News application, you will be able to have a vast variety of topics that you can work on. And what I was talking about earlier, and dogma and task-based learning, all these methodologies and approaches, they're actually about topic emergence, so, and incidental learning. So this is how this is how we learn. We listen to music and we pick up some words from there. We watch some videos and we pick up some words from there. We watch some TV series, and because we like the characters, we may want to imitate what they've said. And we just learn this kind of chunks of phrases because we aspire to be like the characters in the TV series. So in the same sense, what's going on, and what I'm trying to communicate across with my new teaching approach is that whatever the learner is engaged in, then this is where we should go. We should follow the learner's interests. And once we establish a working alliance and establishing rapport and being able to create a situation in which we both try to work towards a specific goal, then we can talk about any kind of topic. And there is no taboo topic, actually. I've been talking about puberty with my young teenager learners these days, which you will not be able to find in a course book or in any kind of textbook, which is something really frustrating for teenagers to go through. It's a very sensitive period of their life, and they do not have anyone to actually recourse to and be able to speak to about all the changes that happen to their body, let's say. So what the luminescent approach is all about is about intuitive. We allow emotions, we allow the visceral conditions to come and rise into the classroom setting. And we prize these feelings and these emotions. And we say, okay, so you're feeling frustrated. Let's take a look why you're feeling frustrated. It's because you don't know about what puberty is. So let's discover it together. Do you like to discover it together? So you invite the other person to explore something that it is of their immediate interest. So course books do not offer this kind of opportunity. We have to follow the syllabus, and we have to finish the pages. So this one reminds me of one of my favorite scenes by Harry Potter. When Severus Snape just enters the classroom and says, please turn to page 394. And that's it. So you just have to go there and you have to follow the instructions of the teacher. And this is not the case. The case is that you have to follow the learner, not the teacher. You are going to be the facilitator of learning. And to highlight this one even more is like playing curling. The facilitator is over there to sweep off the floor and get the obstacles out of the way and get the curling ball into the target. That's it. This is why we're here these days, not to lead them or show them the way. We're just over there to help them explore which kind of path they want to go to.
Okay, that's fascinating, Theodore. I think that's a good perspective in terms of explaining the purpose of these materials and how it can be more beneficial to the learner as opposed to like you said, just leading the way. Thank you for that. Now I wanted to get back to Heike's question about passive income. So Heike, you want to just ask it again so that we our audience is answering properly?
Yeah, my questions to the audience is, how are you earning money with passive income?
Well, if I may just jump in, I'm not really making any revenue at the moment, but I can think of something. Well, I've been asked, by a fellow professional to do some recordings, for example. I'm not going to mention who that is, but for example, that could create extra revenue on the side. I'm not sure if that would address that idea of a passive revenue, if I have it on the side and it's not like a steady income. Would that be the closest thing, Heike?
Yeah, we're trying to find out what is passive income. So Lynn says some consultation, but she mentions the books. Have you been earning money with the books, Lynn?
Maybe a few $100s in the past few years.
Wow!
From royalty, but I also published a children's book, and I don't think I have even broken even with that, but it's more like a passion project. And I do agree with Nik that if we get into this and we earn incomes, it has to be a lot. It has to be consistent. You're not going to earn by publishing one book. I feel like it has to be like every few months or something like that. So
well,
so that's my experience.
but well done. You're still leading the way.
I'd like to offer something here, because I know what Heike is asking about, in that passive income is like income that once you've done the work, like once you've published the book, you don't have to work anymore. The book just generates you income. So, you're passive, you're asleep at night, your book is making money for you. What I'll say from my experience is actually there's no such thing as passive income. If you publish your book, that's the easy bit. The difficult bit is getting people to buy it, and you have to be promoting and working. I mean, it's what I'm doing here, standing here now, it's, promoting what you do, getting people to like what you do, giving away bits of what you do, so that people will like it enough and see that and build some trust with you. Actually, there's nothing passive about it. It's actually very active. But you know, I do wake up in the morning sometimes and somebody's bought one of my books, which is great, you know, but you know, most of the time, and I think this is something for, you know, Heike as well with your courses, you know, you have to get out there, you have to promote, you have to circulate this stuff and sort of build an audience and mainly, you know, I think get the story out about why you're doing this so that people trust you to invest in you, you know, because there are loads of people just doing it for the money. So that's my comment.
How are you promoting it, Nik? I mean, do you go to conferences promote too, or is it just online?
I promote a lot through social media. I promote through giving things away. One of the keys to promoting, I think, is to have, you know, as I was talking about, iterative products, so that, you know, if you give your first thing away, that maybe people will buy the next one and the next one, and you build an audience, building a customer list, building, you know, a presence through social media, building your reputation. All of these things can help people, you know, trust you and sort of depend on, yeah, that's someone who I trust, not just to sort of give my money to, but, you know, that what I get will be of quality, but that, you know, I know my credit card details won't be stolen as well. You know, there are a lot of trust things involved in that kind of process of getting people to buy stuff. You know, I haven't found conferences to be that useful. You know, sometimes you maybe get a sale or two from them, you know, but, you know, it helps to build confidence in the long run. I think the best method that I've found is, you know, give bits away for free, you know, and then people have the chance to try them. If they like them, they'll buy more. You know, I've had people who I've known who've bought a book, and if I look at their history, I'll find that before they've bought their book, they've actually downloaded maybe 5 or maybe 10 free lesson plans before they've got to the stage where they think, yeah, I like this stuff enough to buy the book, kind of thing. So it's a long trail and it's a long process. It takes time and it takes a lot of work.
Well, and it's also awareness. I mean, I'm a member of TESOL and TESOL. I communicate with TESOL Greece because my background is Greek, but I'm not actually a member of it. And IATEFL seems to be, you know, very popular in Europe. So, you know, something like this type of venue where we're all together from different parts of the world, you know, we're aware of your product. Right now we have a certain number of people present here, but a lot of people registered to be able to look at the recording later. So you're going to get a lot more, you know, viewers. So I think something like this, or something where you can, maybe not a conference, but where you can present or make yourself. First time I've met you, Nik, is here, and now I'm aware. But, you know, just kind of building that awareness, I think is very, very useful.
Yeah, it comes from doing lots of different things. And I think there's no one single answer. It's a combination of all these things that builds trust. If you look in the book, which, you know, I offered for free, so that's part of my trust building. You know, I actually have a chapter in it I think it's called Hacking Growth. And that's about, you know, how to build up your sales and things like that. But it can take years, you know, and I think, you know, just putting stuff onto Teachers Pay Teachers and expecting it to make you money it won't happen. You'll be disappointed. You know, you have to build up the skill of marketing your products and marketing yourself as well. And that's something that which I think is quite sad, because I think teachers are often very bad at marketing themselves when they have lots of really strong and good qualities. And they even feel bad about marketing themselves. You know, we all feel that we should be giving away for free the stuff that we do because, you know, we're educators. And yet, you know, education is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And yet, you know, here we are sort of wondering how to make passive income, you know, because just to make ends meet, you know, that's not right. We shouldn't be ashamed to be sort of selling stuff, making money from what we do, making extra income. And, you know, and I think that's important. That's an important thing for teachers to be aware of. Don't be ashamed of, you know, you're a professional. Professional means you get paid for what you do. You know, stop doing stuff for free. You know, although you know that's a contradiction. Having said that, I build up my audience through giving stuff away for free. But you know, I think that's an important point. Rob,
What do you want to say, Rob, about that? Stop giving away stuff for free. I heard it in your IATEFL presentation.
Yes. Well, this is one of the reasons Dorothy Zemock and I started the Independent Authors and Publishers, and we've been every year now. I think it's five years now. We lose money every year, but the idea is to get independent people who are writing books in front of the people that buy books at a big conference like the IATEFL conference. IATEFL was gracious enough to give us a break to get started with this. And we bring in, you know, between 10 and last time we had almost 20 authors that people can actually see their books for very little money. So, you know, join us, Nick. I'll be chasing you soon. It's that time of year. And, you know, you join us there. This is one way because, quite frankly, my background is business. I was a business person before I became a teacher. So I've got a leg up on a lot of people, but you know, Nick and everybody is right. Teachers are not the best business people and marketers. So, you know, this is one of the things that we're trying to do is try and help people out with that. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, we're saying that, but I think people are interested in finding out how they can do that, though. Because even though today we had, I don't know, 25 people present here, 160 people signed up for this, which means 160 people are going to be watching this, which means they are interested in finding out, you know, how they can perhaps monetize what they do and earn that passive income.
Mm-hmm.
So did anybody want to add anything to this or any other questions? Because we've run over 40 minutes from what
quite interesting a discussion, and maybe
very
find
interesting
comments
discussion. Yes.
from the speakers before they go in.
Yeah. So do we have any additional comments or questions about any of this?
Well, I would like to just thank all of you because I have to get myself excused because I have a session right now. But I would like to thank you very much, everybody, for the opportunity and for connecting with all of you. It's been a great pleasure meeting again all of these great co-workers. And thank you very much.
And we thank you too, Theodore, for agreeing to join us. So I have one last slide to show. Maybe you're interested in this, Theodore. As we said, next month we have TESOL Maryland. They're going to be sharing they developed a handbook for everything TESOL. And this is the date and time and the link, which Lynn already put in the chat. But if you want to put it in there again, Lynn, everybody can get that.
Yeah,
So,
and also Chadia from she's located in Canada and she has been working on open educational resources, is going to also talk a little bit about this. I don't know if it is the opposite of what we are talking about today, but they are all connected. So I welcome you to join that webinar next month with us.
well, thank you, everybody. I think this was a fascinating webinar. And it's recorded, so if you want to view it again, because there was a lot of information shared, it'll be available to everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, is open educational resources the opposite of what we said today? Yes or no?
Kinda. We'll explain. You'll learn more then.
All right. That's an interesting food for thought. Okay. So let's talk about that next time. Thank you very much.
May I thank you all
Yes.
for bearing up with my poor tech at the moment. I can't even switch on the webcam because I'm in a car and it doesn't even want to budge. It doesn't even want to show me.
You've done a great job.
did a great job.
Yeah, no worries. And thank you so much, Shelley, our incoming president of TESOL International, for staying until the
You,
end.
Shelley.
I
Yes,
know
being
it has
here.
been
Really
so long.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know Joyce was here too earlier,
Mhm.
our present president, and Shelley is
Yeah.
incoming. So thank you all. And thank you, Martha Chan from TESOL. I see from my affiliate is here. She has a lot of interesting materials online too. So
Cool. Is it possible for you to send the link to download the chat with all the links in them? I don't seem to be able to do this on my iPad.
Let me see if I can
Uh,
save it, and I'll save it. I'll save
Okay,
it.
cool. Thanks, Lynn.
Mhm.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Beth.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot. Goodbye.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And recording stopped.